Hello, everyone. This is Health Coach Rick here. Thank you for joining us. I'm joined tonight by fellow health coach Jennifer Alcala. Hello, Jennifer. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm so happy to be here with everyone tonight.
Absolutely. You and I haven't co-hosted in a while. I'm psyched about this, and I'm really psyched about our guests. So we have our first husband and wife team to grace the HMR Facebook Live events. So Ron and Wendy, how are you guys doing tonight?
Doing great.
I'm doing well.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you guys so much for your time. We've really been building on this theme of having a support system, building, protecting your support system. And you guys have this unique experience of having lost weight together. So we're really going to dive into that here tonight. We're really looking forward to that. I will say that, Jennifer, we are actually lucky to have you here tonight because weather might have actually prevented you from having any. So you live in Kentucky. What happened just quickly about that ice storm today? Because it was crazy.
We started having some ice storms roll in the middle of last night. And I'll tell you, it's surreal and it's beautiful if you're just looking at the ice covering the trees out the window, but not so good if you've lost power or you're out on the roads.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. And here in Boston, guys, we've had at least two, I think it's 3 storms. One wasn't so big, but in the last 2 weeks. So we've been buried. So Ron and Wendy, are you guys surviving? Is it a little too sunny in California? Getting enough shade?
Out the windows, it's nice and sunny.
Is there anything to complain about?
That's down to 68 degrees.
Yeah.
All right. So we are here tonight with the community to have another conversation about weight loss, weight management, health management, and the healthy lifestyle practices that produce all of those things. So Wendy, you're down 43 pounds in the HMR program. Ron, you're down 75 pounds. And speaking to both of you earlier this week, you guys are really just amazing advocates for HMR. So thank you in advance for whatever you're going to say tonight in support of what we're all trying to do. But you guys are also proud owners of, let's just call it, Jennifer, the streak. Streak. So to my audience, do you know of what I speak? The streak, what could it be? There are several things you could have a streak in that would be healthy in the HMR program. But the more I've thought about what you guys shared is your streak, the more impressed I've been when I just think about what it takes to have pulled that off. So rather than leave people hanging on that, you guys are coming up on 2 years in the program and you have never missed a coaching session. Is that a fair statement?
It is.
Yes.
Extraordinary. Really, really good. So I'll definitely want to come back to that towards the end. So you guys talk a little bit more about what makes that investment in time so important for you, for both of you. All right. So Katie has sent me the website, so I'm going to be able to see the people joining in here. Jennifer, are you able to?
I definitely do. We've got some of our regulars here, Rick. We've got Shane says Shane's in the house. Welcome, Shane.
Shane's made it already. He's just got out of a class. That's great. Love it. Who else do we have?
Bob's here.
Bob. Hey, where is Bob from? Is that Bob from Rancho Cucamonga? Is that?
Yes, it sure is.
Okay, I thought so. Who else do we have?
We've got Alicia. From Louisville, Kentucky, probably also dealing with some ice.
Great. And I see Susan Hamilton. Hi, Susan. You're going to be back here in this space soon enough. Jennifer, my client, well, not anymore. You've transitioned to phase 2. Jennifer, how is phase 2 going? Jennifer's another one of our regulars here. Excellent. And we also have Coach Kate, who's manning the comments as well. Jennifer, I didn't know if you knew that she was going to be helping us out here.
Wonderful. I have to say hi to my friend Steve. Steve is on with us. Welcome.
Excellent. Great. And Tanya, and we'll just keep saying hi to everyone. Oh, Shane just shared the phase 1 class. Shane, is this the one that you're teaching? So Shane has been a co-host here, Ron and Wendy, several times. Now, Shane lost 160 pounds in the program 3 to 4 years ago. And he and I are in a lot of contact, and he's co-hosted, and he has been asked to teach an HMR class. So I think that's what he's referring to, that his class lost over 30 pounds this week. How great is that? And I'll say hi to Gina too. Gina, also a fellow health coach who's also graced this space and brought the fabulous O'Sheen and Ava on as guests. So that's great. Wonderful. Gina, good to see you here. All right, guys. So let's sort of get into it. You really took us through your experience when we spoke about that, and I'd like to try to reproduce that a little bit. It's a little bit of a template in the first part of this where you tell us a little bit about what was going on in your life before HMR leading up to the decision to lose the weight. I mean, weight gain is such a common experience. We want to just have you tell us a little bit about what was going on there. And as you talk about life before HMR, just so you guys know, Ron and Wendy, one of the things that has been a consistent feedback from people, and Jennifer, you have clients who told you this, hearing people talk about what brought them to HMR, what was going on in their life where they said it's time to make a change, is very helpful in reminding them why they're doing this, why they're putting in the work and the effort, because obviously this isn't easy work. So it's good to be reminded. So take us through a little bit of what was happening prior to HMR. Do you guys have a preference of who starts?
How about Ron, you start? Because
Go ahead, Ron.
Who
Absolutely.
first got the word on HMR?
By the way, thank you guys for allowing us to come here. I'm really pleased to be here, and I'm really happy with the HR program, as you stated, but I figured I'd say it again. So I went to the doctor and had, all my blood work done and a physical and did everything. And I went back for the follow-up appointment. The doctor told me everything looked really good. My test results were really good. My cholesterol was great. My blood pressure, all of my values were good. And he said, typically when I'm sitting down and I'm talking to somebody that's, 80 pounds to 100 pounds overweight, I'm not having, at your age, I'm not having this conversation. We're talking about the need to make lifestyle changes in order to live longer. So it was pretty simple. He recommended HMR. I thought about it and I thought, this is a good window in my life. It's a time that, my kids are out of the house or kind of out of the house. We're not taking care of them. They're taking care of themselves. So with that said, I went home and I talked about it with Wendy and said, I want to do this. I had never been on a diet before. I'd done things where maybe I went to the gym for the beginning of the year for that first month.
Sure.
I've done a few things like that, but essentially it was we talked it over and Wendy thought it was a great idea. And so we went through the steps. It was about this time 2 years ago when I was at my doctor's appointment. He recommended it. So with that said, we talked about it. And then Wendy, you can take over and tell your portion of it.
Yeah, I'm curious, Wendy. So did Ron come home and blow you out of the water by saying, I want to go into a weight loss program? What was happening with you, your experience with your weight? How did you feel about your lifestyle? How did that conversation land with you when you had it?
Actually, I was very shocked when he came home and said that because like he said, neither of us had ever dieted. And when we were younger, we didn't have to. And then life snuck up on us and our metabolism changed and our lifestyle changed with raising kids and having a business and being busy and taking care of everything else but ourselves. And before you knew it, that additional 80 pounds for Ron and that additional 40 pounds for me piled on really quick. And then we just, no matter what we did, we didn't really diet, but even if we cut back a little here and there, we didn't lose it. And so when he came home and said that, I was very excited to definitely, if you're going to do it, I'm going to do it. We can do it together because doing it, by myself, I felt like I would fail. I would, maybe I wouldn't because I didn't know about the coaching sessions from HMR. But so I was excited and he had already a appointment to go through a meeting, I guess one of the first HMR meetings. And so he went to the meeting. He asked them if somebody who didn't have a referral from a doctor, myself, could also join the program and go to a meeting to see what it's all about. And they said, absolutely. So then he came home, told me that. I went to the meeting. We both discussed it afterwards and agreed that we wanted to try this. We wanted to do this and we chose the Healthy Solutions because we wanted to be able to have that option of having the vegetables and the fruits.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
thought we would probably be more successful starting out that way for us anyway.
Right. Right. You guys had shared when we had spoken earlier in the week about the fact that while you got that, somewhat of a clean bill of health, Ron, there were some things that you were noticing just physically that were quality of life compromises. Wendy, you shared some too. Could you just tell us a little bit about what was happening there? Things that, if you could push a button, you wanted to change. Wendy, keep going here. What was something that, you were experiencing that you knew making some healthy changes, losing some weight would produce some improvements in that area?
So probably about a year before the HMR program started, I had gone in for a physical, and I didn't have as much luck as Ron with having all perfect as far as results. I had high blood pressure, and it was starting to creep up. So they had started monitoring me, and they were giving me medication to take to bring my blood pressure down. So I had already started noticing the high blood pressure. And I had also been noticing probably for the last couple of years where when I was younger, I had bursitis. Well, I had bursitis in my ankles, but it didn't bother me so much until I started putting on the weight. And then I started noticing my ankles were swelling, my feet were swelling, bottoms of my legs were swelling. And even something as simple as going grocery shopping during the weekend for, an hour, hour and a half, doing errands and running around. And I'd come home and my feet were just throbbing and swelling, and I'd have to elevate them. And so I was noticing a lot of those types of things. And, I'd have friends ask me, you want to go for a walk? You want to go do this? And I'd think, oh, my feet are just going to swell. So then it was just an excuse for not doing things. And so, yeah, I was noticing those types of things, definitely.
Yeah. Ron, as you're thinking about some of the things that you were experiencing, Jennifer, I just want to ask the audience to also think about this. I see a lot of new people joining since we welcomed folks. To the audience, can you think about, was there a why, as we like to say, a reason that had you saying, I'm ready to make some changes that rises to the top of your list? Is there something you're present with today that you were remembering, like, that was why I chose to join HMR? And you may be very early on in HMR and be very much in touch with that, but I'd also invite those of you who've been with HMR for a long time, is there a why, as Wendy just shared, that really had you saying, it's time for me to make some changes? We would love to hear that. Jennifer, maybe you could look to see if we've got some responses to that. Ron, what were you dealing with that you wanted to see changes in?
Well, I've had a number of broken bones in my life. And as I got heavier, I had problems with my foot. I have some knee problems. So there were a number of things that were happening. My legs, every night I come home from work and I sit at a desk, and my lower legs and my feet were swollen. So there were just a number of things that were really bothersome. Tying my shoes was kind of a headache. I'd bend over and have to take a big inhale of air, and then bend over and tie my shoes, things like that. That just little things that just added up. Going up and down the stairs, I'd sworn a couple of years back I'd never have a 2-story house again, because I hate going up downstairs, because in the morning I feel so bad. It's not even really a thing anymore. Wow. Going up and downstairs doesn't bother me.
Wow.
Wow. Rick, we've got some people chiming in here. Susan says, things were bad with my weight and health, getting worse. I couldn't fix it without significant support. I have to say, Ocean's here, and he says, awesome work incorporating your spouse.
Yes. Very strategic for both of you.
Right.
Yes.
So Nicole, who's brand new to the program, says, I became diabetic in July and I had to do something.
Wow.
Jennifer, when my orthopedic surgeon could not do surgery on me due to my BMI.
Wow. Jennifer, I'm seeing Alicia. Are you guys ready for this? My husband and I started the program together too. We will be 2 years in May. We started for our daughter, who was just 1 at the time. We needed to be able to chase after her now, LOL. That's fantastic, Alicia. Wow. So that's a little bit of a theme here, some spouses. That's great. That's really, really cool. let's talk. If there's any others you want to read, just interrupt me, Jen. Wide
Yep.
open for that. Great to see that we've got our Natick folks joining here. Really, really cool. I want to talk a little bit about the weight loss itself, if we could. So you both did healthy solutions. You wanted to have the fruit and vegetable component, which is totally understandable. But you guys lost a lot of weight. So I suspect you weren't kidding around when you did this, in terms of you didn't have one foot in the old lifestyle and one foot in the HMR way. You probably wouldn't have lost the weight as successfully as you did if you had done that. So did you have conversations about how you were going to approach it? Or did it just happen sort of organically that you guys were both so committed, you decided to really do the program by the book? Wendy, what would you say about that?
Well, when I started the in-person meeting, one of the first things that they told us is a good idea to do is control your environment, obviously. And so right away, we established one cupboard that was our cupboard. The other cupboard was the kids' cupboard. And we cleared out everything from that cupboard. So when we opened that door, that's the only thing we saw was our stuff. We didn't see the other stuff. We didn't see the chips. We didn't see, the bad foods. We saw only the HMR foods and the healthy things on our side. And so we controlled our environment right away by doing that. And we still have our cupboard to this day. So we have our own cupboard. Not that we occasionally now won't pull something out of the other cupboard, but it's not at all our main cupboard, that's for sure. Right. We changed our environment with what's in our refrigerator and our shopping, and making sure that we always have pre-cut up fruits and veggies ready to grab. So just very easy, very accessible. Bananas on the banana, hook thing, and fruit in the bowl. So we always make sure we have things visible and right there. So if we open that refrigerator, we see the grapes that are already pre-washed and ready to go to just grab. We don't even have to take off a lid. You just grab them, easy, stops you from going for maybe something else that could be in there. So
wow, a lot of changes to make the environment more conducive to what you were trying to do, which was to be in the box. So how about that conversation, Ron? Were there any conversations between you guys about the commitment to being in the box? And we don't want to break that, have that be part of where this goes wrong, where we start dabbling out of the box. And we all know about the slippery slope. What was your experience with that?
Well, I think we first got into it real serious, and then you kind of had a little slip here and there, but we always immediately snap back into it. In other words, if there was a meal out or a holiday or a birthday or something like that, it was a one-time event. It wasn't a day, it was a meal that we did. So there was a bit of that. We talked about how, we're going to start exercising and things like that. And it started out with small walks. We had a stationary bicycle. And I have to tell you, the shape I was in at nearly 300 pounds at that point, I didn't have a lot of stamina to go walk very far, and I did not have a lot of stamina to ride a bike. So I started out with small, 10, 15 minutes of each. We did things like walking around the house when it was raining, and cool. Laps and things like that. And it was kind of it was a joke. But it was exercise, right? Of course. And so we did things like that in the beginning that were, I look back and kind of silly, but they worked. They got us on track. They kept us going. And then as time went on, we became more committed. And we started tracking calories, and I started to really recognize, how many calories per day I was intaking. With HMR, because I was eating more than the minimum.
Sure.
I'm gonna assure you.
Yeah.
Knowing what I know now, there were times pre HMR, I might have ate 5,000 calories in a dinner.
And it had to have been an enormous amount of food, because it's calorie dense food. That's absolutely what's being served up out there. Yeah, that's
so. I was accustomed to eating large quantities of bad food. So when I went into the program, I had to have quite a few shakes in a day. I had to have several entrees. It wasn't just, but I knew full well where I needed to be. And then as my exercise level kicked up, my eating habits got better. I now really understand how much garbage I put in my mouth, fast food wise, because that was something we ate religiously, and we don't eat fast food now. It's very rare.
Yeah. Yeah. You're in for over 1,000. You can't not be in for over 1,000 if you go up for fast food. It's almost that simple. It's extraordinary.
And that's and even at my size and my exercise level, that's half my daily intake.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's so one meal can really do damage if you're not careful.
Yep. Jennifer, let me just ask if there's anyone you want to acknowledge from the comments.
Oh my goodness, we have so many people who've joined. I just want to say hi to Sandra. It's wonderful to have you on.
Hello,
I know
Sandra.
you've been talking about blood sugars and just really wanting to get those under control. So we're so happy that you're here. We have a couple of colleagues that are here with us tonight, Rick. We've got Lisa, we have John.
Coach Lisa.
Yep.
All right.
So welcome. But you know, I really want to hear, Rick, a little bit more about the physical activity. I know, Ron, you just mentioned that, you know, you started out with some, you know, just small incremental steps, walking around the house when it was raining outside, but I got to hear about your gym.
Oh yeah. Yeah. The gym. Yeah. Now this is
Yeah.
incredible because you came from humble beginnings, but now we're going to unveil it. I don't know, Wendy, if you're able to do what you did the other night when we were talking. Can you show us the gym? Tell us the story of the gym here.
I can. Well, you know, with COVID, all the gyms are closed,
Right.
and we were just at the point where we were looking into doing a gym membership instead of just, because we had a treadmill here at home, and then all the gyms closed. So we decided to take a non-used or rarely used dining room and make it our gym. So it's right here where we see it daily. We walk past it. I'll show you here.
Oh, this is
Every
fantastic.
day.
I bet people are going to love this.
Live action. First time on Facebook Live.
We-
Oh, there it
So
is.
we turned our dining room into a
Wow.
little mini gym.
Yeah.
Love it.
Now, Ron, I know you're into the resistance training. I'm just trying to do a quick assessment of what percentage of the gym is devoted to you. Is it more than 50% or is it an even Steven or?
Well, I actually do. We've done variations things. We did the Beachbody videos for a very significant amount of time.
Mhm.
We've done the Tony Horton type videos as we got leaner and more muscular and things like that. There's weights, there's the treadmills in there, the bicycles upstairs in the bedroom, but I've been able to do more and more, and I'm a guy with a broken wrist from snow skiing accident 30 years ago that I have problems with, so I have to be kind of particular in the way I do things. But I use that typically every day. I found that if I put it off to the end of the day,
Yeah.
it typically doesn't get done. So
Yep.
I get up somewhere between 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning, and I put roughly an hour in
Wow.
before my day. I kind of turn on the news
Mhm.
and I get in there and I get on the treadmill. I kind of warm up. I do some stretching, then I do some weights. So I go through a whole regiment. I put together an Excel spreadsheet with different exercises, and honestly, I'm not that super disciplined person in real life, but for some reason surrounding HMR and exercise and food, I am now.
Wow.
Great.
That's unbelievable. You know, to hear you, I just want to remind everyone what you said 10 minutes ago, which was that you wanted to have a house with no stairs.
Yeah.
Ron and Wendy, folks are loving your gym. Candace says that gym is outstanding. Jane and Rick say amazing and fun.
Yeah.
Gina says gym in a dining room. Love it.
Yes, love it too. Let me say hi to Candace. Candace, hi. Candace is in my weight loss group. I'm so glad you joined us tonight, Candace. Hey guys, I do have to ask you a question about the gym. I don't mean to have the conversation turn ugly here, but is there any truth to the rumor that the relatives who used to enjoy the annual Thanksgiving at your house have now stopped coming because they're tired of eating turkey on the treadmill? Is that true? Hey, how often do you use a dining room? I love it. Very rare.
Well, especially with
We were
COVID.
using it very often, and we were in need if we were going to keep using it. Eventually, our table was old, and we had already moved the treadmill in there with the dining room table at one point.
Yep.
And then so I decided at Christmas that Santa was giving us some gym equipment, and we were getting rid of that dining room table, and that's what we did. We put in the little square floors, the padding, and got a weight bench with some extra weights and a couple other things, and decided to go all in on turning that into a gym.
So it just speaks to what's possible, guys. I mean, obviously you're really into it, but again, I just go back to, at one point it was simple walking for you, and even short bouts of walking, even in the house. I mean, and I'm speaking really to people in the audience who maybe don't feel like you've got your mojo going with your exercise or your physical activity yet. There are no ceilings here. Start small and be consistent, and you will find doors open that you had no idea even existed. Anything else you guys would add about that as words of encouragement to people who maybe aren't hitting where they'd like to be with the exercise, guys?
Well, it's very hard to ignore the exercise equipment when you walk past it all day long in the evening. So if it's in the basement somewhere, I'm in Southern California, we don't really have those, but I've heard that's where we put gyms if you're in the other part of the country.
Yes.
And it's easy to just forget all about it. When it's next to my kitchen and my family room, it's pretty popular place to go and do something. If there's times I feel real tired and it's only 9 o'clock in the evening, I get up and I go and I walk over and get on the treadmill and walk for 15 minutes.
It's awesome.
So yeah, there are things I can't ignore it.
It's great. It's great. Any words of encouragement, Wendy, for you, just from your experience?
That even if obviously not everybody's going to turn their dining room or a main room on their floor into a gym, but even if you just set out some sort of equipment that just is that little reminder, some weights or something in your family room that are just sitting on the floor. So when you're sitting there watching TV, you see it and you think, you know what, I can do 15 minutes of, something with those weights, even while I'm watching TV. And that's what, I now am working at home down here because my office upstairs, my daughter took over after COVID and she's working at home. So I'm working down here. So I see that all the time. But even if I didn't see that all the time, but I saw some weights or something in the room where I'm at, it would remind me that, I can just I'm super busy. I understand that, but I could take 15 minutes and do something. And whether it's 15 minutes on that treadmill, and then I go back to work. And then about an hour or two later, I do another 15 minutes. And those little bouts will add up to, before you know it, you have a half hour or an hour in that day.
Yeah, that's great. I appreciate that perspective because so many people discount the value of short bouts of exercise. It's one of the biggest mistakes people make. I'm not going to do 30. And then they sort of treat it as if there's no opportunity to do any. Like 30 equals, not 30 equals 0, when in fact you could do 5 or maybe 10. I don't know if you saw this, Jennifer, but Eloise, if I'm saying that correctly, is talking about you guys and your indoor physical activity. That beats going out in minus 18 degrees like I'm doing now. Wow. Minus 18.
That's commitment.
That's commitment.
Yeah, that is.
Wow, unbelievable. You know what? I want to put a.
We used to do literally laps around our downstairs. We just and our cats and our dog at the time. We don't have a dog anymore, but at the time, our animals and our kids thought we were crazy because we just did laps around the kitchen table, dining room table, the kitchen island, the couch, and we just kept walking and for like a half hour, just doing laps around the house. Anything to get moving.
It's great. With someone else in my phase 1 class, Andrew, he does routinely over 6,000. I think he did 8,000 last week. And so he's always looking for opportunities. And during the class, he's on his stationary bike. He's never not on a stationary bike during the class every week. It's awesome. It's just so awesome. So little short bouts matter. They can add up. Any movement matters, however you can do it. I want to put up your photo, guys. I'm a little remiss. I should have put it up a little earlier, but I'd like, as I ask, if there's any particular quality of life improvement that you are in touch with and experiencing now that you might value above anything else, be thinking about that. I want to ask the audience that as well. You don't have to have been in the program very long to start to notice a difference. Just even 2 weeks. And we've had people routinely report they have more energy, they might be sleeping better, certainly feeling better emotionally about how things are going. So if the audience could if there's something that you're in touch with right now in terms of a benefit that you're appreciating right now from the positive lifestyle changes you're making, please share that. So Jennifer can share that with us. And I'm going to put your photo up. Ron, what are you most in touch with right now? If you could narrow it down to an improvement that you're appreciating, quality of life perspective wise?
Number one, the physical activity,
Mm-hmm.
going out and doing things. I mean, we spend time, we go on the weekends, we go out and we do 4 or 5 mile walks, things like that. We live in a beautiful neighborhood here in Orange County, and we go around and we go walking there, and we've gone to parks and things like that. These are all things I would have never done. Honestly, they're just, this last year we went out to the lake boating, and I took off my shirt for the first time in about 30 years.
Wow.
Normally I wear a t-shirt because it's just not pretty. I was able to take my shirt off and actually not feel self-conscious about it. So that was a big deal to me.
That's awesome.
Hope it doesn't sound shallow, but it was moments in time that I recognized.
It sounds freeing. It sounds reinforcing. I don't think anyone thinks anything but things like that about that. What a great story that is, Ron. Awesome. Wendy, what about you? Something that you're really in touch with is it being a valuable change that you're experiencing now with a healthier lifestyle.
Definitely, we do so much more. And a lot of it is outdoors because we're in California, which is nice. But we spend so much more time, I think, together, really, even though maybe we were on the same couch together, but we weren't doing anything. We were just staring at a screen. And now we're always planning things. And what are we going to do this weekend? Where are we going to go? Where are we going to walk? Who do we want to call to walk with us? And so we're doing more things with our friends, and we're really enjoying checking out different parks or different beaches, and doing the walks on the beach and the walks at the different parks, or hiking. And so all of that. And like Ron mentioned, I mean, we go to the lake every summer, and over the years, as the weight went on, the t-shirts became always a staple, even in the water, the big baggy t-shirts over the bathing suit. And not having to do that anymore is great.
Beautiful. So great. I think that's a wonderful juxtaposition, the idea of you guys together on the couch, but kind of just watching TV, not having what you've just described. The word that came to mind for me was vitality. It just sounds like such vitality with everything that you just shared around active and being together and going places and doing things. It's beautiful. Really, really great. Jennifer, what are we hearing from?
Great comments. Carol says, I look and feel better in my clothes. Patty, this is awesome. I have a lap. How many of us can relate to that? I have a lap. Susan, deciding what to wear is way more fun now.
Oh, that's great.
Sharon, more energy, ability to do 5,000 to 7,000 physical activity, ability to maintain my weight for almost a year. Congratulations, Sharon.
Well done, Sharon. So good to see you here tonight with the other regulars. Really great. Really, really cool. All right, we're going to keep the conversation going here. In the the discussion we had earlier in the week, we touched on a number of things. I'm not sure we'll be able to touch on all of them here in the remaining, whatever we have, 10 or 15 minutes, but I'd like to try. The first one was, Ron, you had sort of started the conversation, and it actually got very rich. It was you were talking about that in other areas of your life, you really had practiced a high level of discipline, obviously, business and whatnot, but not this one. So talk a little bit about this idea of placing yourself at a higher level of priority. I'll just say one other thing. This has been a repeated theme in the last few weeks. Those of you in the community who have been watching may remember these conversations that started over a month ago, where we were asking the question, is it selfish to make your lifestyle and practicing a healthy lifestyle a priority? Is it selfish? I mean, I need to go do my exercise, or I need to have these foods available for me. Is it selfish? So Ron, what's your take on this in terms of, you've made this area now one where you're practicing discipline. What's your take on this as why it needs to be a priority?
Well, I obviously made my family a priority. I've been involved in a lot of things over the years with my kids, and we've done a lot of things, and I've been very, very fortunate. I've owned my own company for many, many years. And I worked really hard at all those things, but honestly, the one thing that was always compromised was me personally. I didn't exercise. I didn't eat right. I probably drank too much alcohol. All of those things were I just didn't pay attention to myself. And over the course of 30 years, I gained more and more and more weight. So, I went from being somebody who was physically active and doing a lot of things in my 20s to not being able to do them by the time I was in my 50s. So just the fact that it's sort of evolved into, what, one of my most important priorities, obviously my family is my number one, but I am also number one. I take the time to eat right. I take the time to exercise, and really, it's now something that is in the forefront.
It's great. Really good. So again, in the audience, I would ask you to consider this question too, if you're so inclined. Comment, and Wendy, we'll hear from you. Is it selfish to make yourself a priority? Or is that actually, when you go out and look at the big picture, it's actually, as one person said it so eloquently a few weeks ago, it's the best thing I can do for my family is to make myself a priority, because I'm better able to be there for them, the best version of myself, when I'm making myself a priority. So for those of you in the audience, if you're so inclined, what's your take on that? Why is it important that you keep yourself among your top priorities, your healthy lifestyle, your health, your weight management? Wendy, what say you to this question?
Well, like Ron said, I mean, we always, we're focused on business and kids' activities, but then I think in reality, by doing that, we actually jeopardize our ability to, in the future, spend that quality of time with our family.
Yeah. So,
by being healthier, we can do a lot more things with them, and we can do it for a lot longer. So, we're healthier and able to actually enjoy time with them more, and doing fun activities and things that are physical and not,
Wendy, I love what you just said about how, by taking the time to prioritize your health now, it's just going to allow you to be able to do more with your family in the years to come. It's such great perspective.
Yeah.
Bob commented and says, he needs to be selfish in order to do this work. Nicole says it's selfish not to make a priority that your family needs you to be here.
That's the long-term view right there, to be there now, but also later. That's great, Nicole. Really building on what Wendy said. Guys, my daughter's 12. I have to really bottom line it for her on this whole thing. So, she wants me, I want to exercise. I say things like, you will have a better night if I exercise. You will have more fun if I can go spend my 45 minutes in the gym right now. It's the truth. I just come out and I've earned the night, and I just feel that I'm a better version of myself when I feel like I'm like really earning whatever I'm going to have that night for dinner or whatnot. Any other comments from people on that one? Here's one from Shane, Jen. If you aren't around, who's going to take care of them? I had to make a hard choice to ensure longevity. And as Kate said, perfectly stated.
Yeah. Gina says you can't take care of anyone if you're not taking care of you.
Yep. And then Sandra, a point that we've kind of hit on, but being healthier will make life easier in the future. Isn't that the truth? If you just think about some of the mobility issues and the enjoyment factor, I mean, there is an ease about living life in a more optimal way when you're healthy. So that's great. Those are really, really wonderful responses. I want to pivot to another point that we spoke about, Ron and Wendy, and it's the whole idea of staying in action. You guys are both operating at a pretty high level, very high, I would say, given that you've got this streak on top of the weight loss, this streak of attending classes as consistently as you have. I'll come back to that. I would hate someone to stumble into this Facebook Live conversation and hear you guys speaking and say, "Oh, they're kind of perfect. I'm never going to be like that." I would imagine some days are worse than others. You guys shared a few of them the other day with me when we spoke. Talk to us a little bit about getting back on track when things aren't going as well as maybe you had hoped. Do you have any examples? Ron, what might you say about that?
So just a couple months ago was my birthday, and that weekend I made it last all weekend. I overindulged a lot. And I came back 8 or 9 pounds over where I went into that weekend. I knew I was a mess when I knew it was going to be a lot of extra eating and drinking and having some fun that I wouldn't ordinarily have. So I tried to cut a few pounds before, and then I knew I had a lot of work to do before I got into weigh-in, and I still didn't quite make it. I lost some of it, most of it, but I really paid for it in the subsequent 2 weeks because I really had to work hard. The way I did it was going back in the box, going back to several days of phase 1 type programming, really focused at it. Keeping my activity levels high, things like that. So that's one example of one time, but regularly, if you go out to dinner and you go out to a Mexican restaurant and you have some chips and salsa and a few things or a margarita, and you're going to leave, you will have really disrupted that day.
Yep.
And one of the things that I always think about is if I'm going to go out and I'm going to enjoy myself. Wendy's birthday was just recently, and we did a similar thing. You have to go back to discipline. You have to go back to eating right. And the easiest thing to do is to go back into the shakes, the meals, things like that. It really helps. And perfect is far from what I've been.
Yeah. Now, Wendy, I really want to apologize to you that it was here in this public space that you've learned that your husband isn't perfect. Sorry about that. Would you mind telling us a little bit about are some days worse than others? And more importantly, what do you do to get back on track?
Absolutely. Some days are worse than others. And if we know there's going to be a period of time, an event or something, then we're pretty good at making sure that leading up to it, we're being very disciplined. And for the most part, we're very disciplined during the week. We use a lot of HMR products during the week, shakes every morning. That's just standard, even on the weekends. And we'll do HMR meals during the week, to keep us kind of ready for if we're going to go out and do something on the weekend. So we kind of leading up, if we know something's coming up, we'll make sure we even do that a little more religiously. And then coming out of it, same thing. But the meetings really hold us accountable because we know we're going to have to log that weight. We know we're going to have to log our food, what we had and how many of each, the shakes and stuff. So that accountability really helps keep us going. That's why I think we keep going to the meetings, we keep doing the Zooms or whatever.
Yeah.
Because it really does just help you refocus.
Yeah, no, that's great. You bring up a really interesting point, Jen. You and I talked about this, so I actually want to ask the audience the question that you thought was a good one to ask, which is, if you're in phase 2, so you're not in the aggressive weight loss phase out there, speaking to the audience right now, what HMR foods do you still use regularly? So that's the question. But now I want to come back, Ron and Wendy. Was there a learning curve here? Because it's not uncommon for people to say, "What, you still use shakes, but you're not in the weight loss phase anymore. Like, what's up with that? I thought that was then. Aren't you supposed to be doing something different now?" And of course, we all do something different, those of us in phase 2, as part of managing weight long term. But Ron, a little bit on how you use the phase 1 tools, the HMR foods, as part of managing your weight. What else might you say about that?
Well, it's convenience, and
Check.
that's a really big part of my lifestyle is it's got to be easy, because if Wendy doesn't prepare it or do it for me, I may not do it myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a shake every morning. She prepares for me with fruit in it. We both do. And for lunch, my lunches are always static and standard with HMR in them as well. And then there's at least a day or a week that I am working on being in the box with all the HMR foods. Mm-hmm. I enjoy my weekends. I have a Traeger smoker, and I smoke a lot of different things. So I need balance. So sometimes I'm looking at it from the standpoint of, okay, tomorrow's going to be a pound or 2 gain, and so I'm going to make sure I manage it during the week. So, but a lot of it comes back to, I spent 30 years not really eating every day, just having one meal. My body is trained to go, hey, you're hungry. It never used to do that. I'd look at it and go, is it time to eat? I guess so. It's almost time to go to bed. So we use the HMR food by choice. I mean, I like the food. It's not, it's not a Five Guys hamburger, but it's good and it's filling. So.
And it's helping you keep weight off.
Yeah. And you know what? I can still do a Five Guy hamburger once in a while.
Yeah.
I maybe every 3 to 6 months, In-N-Out burger, something like that.
Jen, I'm sure our folks watching have some comments here. Wendy, I'm going to come back to you in just a minute, but I just want to make sure, for those of you who are watching and aren't as familiar with phase 2, I hope you took away some of what Ron just said there. So, Ron, you're keeping off 75 pounds, which is extraordinary. But again, we kind of joked about it, but you're not perfect. You use a lot of phase 1 behaviors. You eat other healthy food too, but it's really about earning the indulgences. And then, coming back to more structured eating, and then enjoying indulgences and balance. You use the word balance. At HMR, we feel like this is a very reasonable way. And also we see it as a very effective way to keep weight off, because it's just reality-based thinking. You are going to eat some of your favorite foods from before you lost the weight, not as much as maybe before, not as regularly, but if those are foods that you love, this is your life, and food is an important part of it. So if nothing else, phase 2 gives you the structure and the skills for earning some of those indulgences. Jen, you want to share any before I come back to Wendy on this one?
I do, definitely. But one thing that just really comes to mind when I hear Wendy, you and Ron both speaking, is that so much of what you do really comes down to planning. You talked about both of you having birthdays recently, and you planned that those would be, higher calorie days. So leading up to it, you had some days where you worked really hard to, manage calories, maybe have some lower calorie days, and the same thing afterwards. And it really comes down to a lot of planning that I hear that you're doing, which is so impressive.
It's a great point. It just comes right out. You guys had shared even what you were going to be doing on Valentine's Day. I asked you innocently, could you speak about that? Even joked that, Ron's previous Valentines have made him legendary in California with the level of romance. Ha ha ha. But you guys, you sort of detailed it out. Just give us 20 seconds on what you're doing on Valentine's Day. The fact that you kind of know what's going to happen really speaks volumes to this. Wendy, what would you say? Valentine's Day, top of your head, what's going to happen?
Well, we're going to start out by spending time together and going for a walk on the beach. So we'll probably go for at least an hour walk, 4 miles or so, and start our day off that way. And that's spending quality time together and making sure that we're both staying healthy. And then he has his smoker that we love to cook on the smoker. So we're going to probably do either some chicken breast or salmon on the smoker, some roasted veggies. So we'll keep it healthy that day so that we're both around for each other,
Right.
But, right. So, and the other thing I wanted to add to what Ron was talking about during the week, and, people who were saying, well, I thought you didn't have to do HMR after a while. And we don't do HMR all the time. We do it for certain meals because of convenience. We love the shakes in the morning. It's easy for us. We were never people to make breakfast. We would just skip it. So now instead we make shakes, and I put strawberries and I put bananas and I put spinach in our shake every morning. And so we have that as a go-to every morning, unless something on the weekend, if we're going to go out, let's say there's an event and we're going out to brunch. Okay, then that makes a difference. The HMR meals for Ron going into the office, it's very simple for him. He says, just throw me in an HMR meal. I make him a salad, give him some fruit. He has fruit salad and HMR meal for his lunch and snacks. For me, sometimes I'll do a salad. Sometimes I'll do an HMR meal. Sometimes it'll be leftovers from what we've made in the evening. Then typically there's a couple nights a week we may choose to do HMR if we have an event coming up, but we also have learned through this program and through the coaching what foods are good foods to cook during the week. So we make a lot more fish, a lot more chicken, a lot more veggies, and I make it in large quantity so that we have it throughout the week, so that we can meal prep for if instead of an HMR meal, maybe Ron wants some fish and veggies. So we do regular food as well, but we use those HMR foods to either get us back on track or get us to where we want to be leading into a weekend.
It's great. It's really great. Jen, I think in the spirit of time, we won't read all of the strategies and the recipes and combinations people who are in phase 2 use as part of managing their weight, using phase 1 behaviors, but those are worth looking back on for those who've watching. If you didn't look at those, I will just end that conversation about Valentine's Day. Coach Kate, who's manning the comments, had a nice little final comment. Maybe you guys could enjoy an entree together on the treadmill. How romantic. Ron, that's about the romantic strike zone. I think that
that's it.
Yeah, that's it. All right. We're turning the corner. We're towards the end here. I did say I wanted to come back to the streak. The streak being, once again, for those of you who weren't at the time, who've joined us a little bit later, Ron and Wendy have attended a coaching set. They're coming up on 2 years in the program, 2 years, and they have never missed one of their coaching sessions. So I'm going to have you guys thinking, like, bottom line it, what is it that you get out of that investment of time? Because over that many weeks, I mean, it may just be, call it an hour. It's a lot of time. So it's a big investment of your time. Obviously, it's worth it. And I would just say for those of you in the audience, if you're not participating in coaching, ultimately you have to do what works for you. But it's usually a pretty good experience and very likely to help you achieve better results than try and do this on your own. And that's all I'll say about that, unless Jen, you have something to say before we hear from Ron and Wendy. Anything else on coaching from you?
Nope.
Okay. So why coaching? Why the streak?
I think it's it's one of my number one priorities. It really kind of refocuses me every week. It prepares me for I start thinking about making sure my app is up to date. I start preparing, making sure that I'm on target with the right weight that I'm looking for. And it creates this accountability. The other thing is I really enjoyed the coaches. I've had really good ones over the period of time. There's no, I don't know. I just don't feel like there's anybody judging you. It's really, that's important. I am competitive by nature, and I look at the app and I see who lost weight, and I look and see not by the total value, but by someone up or down. And I look at that. I also look to see how many PA, how many fruits people or vegetables people have eaten. I look at that stuff when I'm on the call, and it kind of makes me really think about my week. I try to log all of my food every single day so I don't miss things, because I tend to miss things if I don't.
Sure.
But a lot of it is that 1 hour dedicated to myself is sort of that refocus and preparing me the next 7 days.
It's beautiful. Great statement. Really great. Thank you for your comments about the coaches. To a person, the HMR coaches, I mean, they have changed careers to do this work. That's usually the case for people. It's a lot more than a job for the people who are an HMR coach. Wendy, what would you add to that in terms of what makes that huge commitment to attending every week worth it for you?
Well, when I started, I was doing the in-class coaching sessions, and Ron was doing the phone. And I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the accountability. I enjoyed learning so much about looking at what you're eating and looking at those labels and figuring out what's good and what's not good. And just hearing stories from other people and how they overcome their obstacles of temptations and different things like that. We would get handouts, or they'd do presentations that we'd watch. And that was great. That was really good. And I wasn't sure about switching to the phone coaching. Ron had been doing that. So I was doing the in class, he was doing the phone. And so I sat in on a couple first. I had asked Bill, can I just sit in and listen for a while? And I realized that this is good too. And so I really enjoyed both. And now that there's the Zoom ones, I enjoyed even more. I enjoy that one more, because then you get to see people and you get to hear, I mean, you always hear their stories, but you get to put a face with a person. And so it's really helped get feedback from other people, encouragement from other people, and keep you accountable. Because every week you have to make sure you're tracking your weight, you're tracking your food. And, we use other things to keep us accountable somewhat too. We use our smartwatches a lot. And we have little things that'll tell us it's time to get moving, it's time to stretch. We use some apps that will track not HMR foods. Well, actually HMR foods are on there as well, but that will also track any other type of food you have. You can scan the barcode and keep track of your calories. So we do a lot to keep ourselves accountable. And HMR is definitely one of those that I like every week having to refocus and make sure that we're accountable.
That's wonderful. That's really great. You mentioned Bill, Coach Bill. Sharon, who's in the comment section, she just very simply wrote Coach Bill, exclamation point. I'd like to call out Bill. He is my brother. He and I have both been doing this for more than 30 years, and he is a great coach, isn't he?
He is.
Yeah, really great. All right. Final comments can be brief, but Ron, you had said in that pre-conversation that you brought up the controlling things during a time when so much might feel out of control. Obviously, I'm speaking about the pandemic. Do you guys have anything else to say about this idea? Because we have heard it, right, Jen, from many of our program members, that there's so much that's out of control that I feel like this is something I can control. Haven't you heard that, Jen?
I've heard that in almost every group the entire year, where someone really speaks to, and in such a world this year where, there's been so many things that we can't really control, just really managing our health behaviors is something that we can feel good about being in action around.
Yeah. So both of you guys are in action. There is no question about that around your healthy lifestyle. Any take on this not using COVID as an excuse? Ron, start us off on that.
Well, you know, I started a new company not that long ago, and it's been kind of a nightmare. As you can imagine, we're in California, things shut down. So that's been out of my control. I can't do what I naturally do. So that's been tough on me. The fact that I've had some COVID situations in my, you know, extended family, some deaths, things like that have been really devastating to some of those people that I'm close to. Again, the only thing I feel like I control is I control my weight. I control my exercise. I control my behavior. I feel a lot less vulnerable would be maybe the word I'd like to use. I feel like I'm healthy. I'm not going to be one of those statistics. If and when, I guess when I get it, I'm going to be less likely to have a serious condition because I'm taking the time to take care of myself. I'm not, you know, obese anymore. I'm not, you know, inactive. So my whole thing is this is the one area that I am in control, when ordinarily I'd have my life in control at work and at home and everywhere else. And now it's just, things seem to be so in disarray.
Yeah, sure. Sure is that way. Wendy, what would you add to that just from your own perspective?
Like Ron said, one thing that definitely keeps us going and makes me glad we made this choice is with the pandemic, and you hear about the people that are most vulnerable are those that do have some of the health conditions that we had. And so staying focused and keeping ourselves healthy is important. And so we need to make sure we do that. And it's definitely a good reason to do that for anybody.
Sure is. Yep. Well, that's a great note to end the conversation on. Just speaking for Jen as well, Ron and Wendy, thank you so much for the time that you've given us and just taking us into your life, and, you know, the whole audience as well. Really generous of you. And I also want to thank our audience for joining us. So many of you are regulars, and it wouldn't be the same without you contributing in the comments section and knowing that you're out there watching. We hope that the conversation tonight was a helpful one. We hope that may have got some ideas, maybe some insights, or just another hit of inspiration. I think we can pretty much guarantee that people got that from this conversation. It all works, and that's why people show up. So I will say, we hope that you could join us next week as well. We're going to, in the spirit of the whole notion of having a support system, we're going to have another family affair with Coach Destiny. I'll be joined by her, and she's going to be joined by 3 successful program members, Jennifer, Anthony, and JC, who are, respectively, her mom, her dad, and her sister, all in the program, all doing fabulously well. So I think that's going to be a fantastic conversation, and I hope people can join us next week. Thanks again, guys. Appreciate it. Ron and Wendy, if you could maybe stay on after we stop the feed here just for a quick chat, that'd be wonderful. And to all of you watching, have a great week. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.